Hello folks, this is John here at the Parker Homestead, trailer, whatever you want to call it. But had some questions about how I do this stuff up, and so I thought I would do a quick vid. I haven't done this video simply because my dryer is old and it looks kind of grungy. But the lady said, well, if it's lasted you 10 years and it's stained, shouldn't be ashamed. Well, I am a little ashamed of it. I believe it or not, I washed it yesterday with the pressure wash again. I wash it quite often. I have a pressure wash that I had from my business when I had work, and I used it to remove paint. It's 2,500 psi, and I tried cleaning it and soaked it in bleach water for a day and a half now. Real strong bleach water. But our water has iron, sulfur, manganese, and our clothes turn a kind of a yellowish red. I often said that if our clothes don't match in a couple launderings, they all do match. But the only thing that hasn't changed color, as you can see here, has been the only part of it that hasn't been soaked, and that's the electrical component at the top. And I'll show you this here. I don't know how you say it, but we got it at Walmart, American Harvester, and we've had it now 10 years. And I got it because it had the adjustable temperatures. It goes from 95 up to 155, and if I remember right, I think it's 600 watts. So it does use a little bit of energy, and I use it non-stop from about June until January, February, because I go through this cycle. I'll start when the beans come off, and I'll show you some here. A 5-gallon bucket, 2 5-gallon buckets of beans end up in a gallon bag. Last year we had damaged potatoes. I dehydrated them. They didn't rot. You have things that you don't want. Now, why dehydrate? Well, the old timers dehydrated before they had canning jars and stuff. I grew up with dehydrated things. But now I see that they have all kinds of markets out there for oxygen absorbers and stuff like that. Well, we didn't use the oxygen absorbers, and my mother, we never got sick. My mother just put them in like, it looked like a pillowcase. She sewed them up, and it was nothing more than a flax or cotton bag, and we dried apples. We called the Dutch people here dry apples, and they call them apple schnitz. And my wife, she's from Indonesia, and she just loves these things. She takes little bags of them. This is one that she'll take to work with her, and she'll eat them in the car to stay awake because she works a lot of long hours. And I'll tell you, they are yummy. And depending on the apple, will determine the taste. But what do I do with? I do everything. I have here bird's eye chilies. We eat loads of chilies. Last year I had 2 bags full. This year my bird's eyes didn't grow. But we're in good shape because I did 36 pints of chili paste. And that's a lot of chili paste. And plus I did 2-gallon bags. I gave some of these away. But we eat a lot of chilies, cook with a lot of chilies. My wife likes things hot, and I've adapted from being Dutchy to liking her food. Now the other day you saw me, some didn't make the cut. You saw the pan of okra I had. Well, I did that. I put them in the blanched them, put them in the dehydrator, and I'm gonna actually. They'll make a lot less than this when they're dehydrated, because what I'm going to do after I do this video is to show you. I'm going to put them in the. I don't know what you call it. Not the thing that we use to grind with. And I'm going to make a a flour, and then I'll just put a spoon or two of it in, whatever it works out to. But I found something else out. This is how much I got. But these things, okra is really good, dehydrated. Next batch I do, I'm going to put a little salt on, and I'm going to eat them just like a pretzel. Now, I have squash, loads and loads and loads. I don't know if you can see here, but the table, this is just part of what I have dehydrated. But the thing about dehydration is, you know, the current goes off. We live out here, the current goes off all the time. Mom would take her cloth bag, hang it on the wall. Yes, things get a little leathery, the apples, but they're good. You cook them up, make pies, and have what the Dutch people call schnitz pies. Real popular here in Pennsylvania. Another thing that I do, I do squash. I have bags and bags and bags of squash. I like getting the older squash. Peel the hard rind. They don't shrink up as much if you get like yellow squash. It's real old. You don't use the seed pods, and then you kind of run it through the slicer sideways, and you get long strips. And that way they don't get so tiny when you want to use them or eat them. But I tell you what, there's a piece of zucchini, and they are really good like a potato chip. And you don't have to cook them up. Here, 5-gallon bucket of tomatoes. You know, if you live in a trailer like we do, dehydration saves space. If you live in an area where you don't have electricity all the time, you know what? Last fall, the current went off for a while when Sandy went through. And I had to become really concerned about the meat that I had in the freezer. Sorry. But anyway, this is how I do stuff. This thing runs constantly. Our electric bill goes up about $10, but I consider that far less than what it cost me if I ran a canner to try to can it. And where would I put the canned food? Now, I do can some stuff like chili paste, and but most of the fruit I dry. I have dried plums. I dry the peppers of various kinds. I try to keep them separate. This is just a small part here on the table of what I have dried. But the thing is, it takes up little space. It lasts forever, you know. And all you'd have to do is soak it. I need to show you corn. You take a 1/4 cup of this, and this is like 2 5-gallon buckets of corn when this is full. Now this has some used out, but it goes down to nothing. And then when you put it in your chicken corn soup, you don't want to overuse it. It's a little bit like rice, you know. A little bit swells up, really swells up a lot, and it plumps up. And the longer you cook it, I mean, like you heat the soup up, and the corn is a certain size, but you let it set in the refrigerator and heat it up a couple more times. The corn gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it tastes. You can't tell the difference. Not on corn that's dried in a dryer like this. Now, in the old-time dryers that you set on a cook stove, it got kind of a sour taste, and beans and corn got some people crave that taste, but this here, you can't tell the difference when you hydrate this and the difference between canned corn or regular corn. Some things, the texture may be a little different, but when you don't have freezer space or you don't have electric, a dryer is the way to go. You wouldn't believe how much food is on this table, and it lasts. What I do is, after I get through a year, we'll give my beans from the previous year to somebody that wants them, and then I put the fresh away, and I'm always renewing my stock because I have it, you know. But this is a small portion of the dehydrated stuff I have. I have a few canning jars that don't can a whole lot. I dehydrate just about everything, even meat. Now some of the staining on the inside of this, of course it doesn't look too bad, but soy sauce, I make jerky. If somebody gives me deer or gives me a part of a deer for butchering their deer, or even beef, I take the ground meat and I make it into jerky. It really, a lot of times the trays will be completely full, no space anywhere, and by the time it's done, I'll put it down for the last part of the drying into 2 trays. So that's a 80% reduction in the size, and of course you can see the okra, a great reduction and a good way to go. At least that's what I think. I grew up with dehydrated food, made the old way on an old, well, it was a boiler. It had a water underneath. You put it on the cook stove, and you left the cook stove cook, and it had water in to make sure that you didn't burn. And it had well, it's soldered together, and then the beans or the apples or whatever you dehydrated laid on top. But an electric dehydrator is really nice. One of my next projects is to build a solar dehydrator, and it'll probably work out just fine too. I have an idea, but I just have to get the materials to do it. Thanks for watching. May the Lord bless.